Alright, then continuing. Apparently, the skeptical dad has to cut it short.
Well, not really
Thanks to
short.
him.
We still have another good 20 minutes, and if we need to, we'll continue after that.
Hmm.
Now, here's basically where we're at, as I say it. You read the Bible as if it's, the Farmer's Almanac or the Almanac or.
The Almanac is a great source of knowledge. It's given me, so many things to learn about. The Bible, not so much.
The Bible hasn't taught you anything?
I mean, it's taught me things about the Bible. Almost nothing in it is concurrent with reality, though. It has so much historical inaccuracies, scientific inaccuracies, moral, debauchery. You realize there's a line about, hey, God commands Moses' people to go conquer this town. And then Moses says, What are you doing? You spared all, the women and the children. You need to kill all the women and kill all the male children and then keep the virgins for yourself. That's literally a line that Moses says in the Bible.
Well, I need to look up that one.
I have the exact...
There are... no need. I believe you.
I can say it.
There are...
I have the exact quote. You said you wanted to look it up?
Read it.
Okay. Well, continue what you were saying. I'm trying to find this.
There are parables in the Bible. There are analogies. There's different writing styles. The thing you need to understand is each chapter of the Bible is in itself a book. Okay, the Bible's not a single book. It's not the Bible, the book. It's a collection of stories written in various...
different authors, I'm aware.
Lots of authors, lots of writing styles.
Many.
Lots of writing. Some of them are...
Which is why there are many contradictions.
Some of the... Well, because some of them are written to use this as a tool to emphasize a point. It doesn't mean literally pick up a rock and throw it at somebody.
What? But if it's command from God to do that, if someone, say, breaks the Sabbath, and then it shows them, it says that they do that in the Bible, then what are you supposed to take from that? It literally says in the Bible, God says, okay, so here's something that happened in the Bible. So, I don't know if it was Moses, but, Moses or maybe, one of the leaders of Israel, they were confused about, hey, what if one of one among us breaks one of your commandments, to keep holy the Sabbath, and someone, because we found this person picking up sticks on the Sabbath. So they went to God and said, hey, God, what should we do with this person? And God says, you need to stone them to death, and then they did it. That happened. Well, what are you supposed to take from that?
I have to read the historical context. The biblical context.
Yeah,
context.
Context.
Isn't it true that, Mr. Michael, that you are very literal and very concrete?
Shoot, where is it?
You don't read things, mysticism or anything like that, although it exists.
I don't think mysticism exists. I think that fantasy can be fun to immerse yourself in. For example, we're watching ATLA, Avatar: Last Airbender, which is, one of my favorite shows ever, and that's, a fantasy, and it's cool to, immerse yourself in, but you don't have to do that while also believing that it's true, and we have to make it the basis of our morality.
You mean there is no Avatar?
No, there is not an Avatar, indeed.
Although you enjoy doing it. You certainly immerse yourself and enjoy. You indulge yourself for a few hours of escape.
Yeah, most of the Bible is pretty boring, though.
Which brings to mind...
Oh, yeah, here it is. I found the quote. Okay, so this is Numbers 31, 1-18. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take full vengeance for the sons of Israel and the Midianites. Afterwards you will be gathered to your people. Moses spoke to the people, saying, arm men from among you for the war, that they may go against Midian to execute the Lord's vengeance on Midian. Just for context, because you're so focused on that, the Midianites, the women in their civilization, seduced a lot of the Israeli men to practicing the Midianite faith and worshiping their gods instead of God. So this is what's happening in response to that. They're going out to attack the Midianites for converting people to their faith. 1,000 from each tribe of all the tribes of Israel you shall send to the war. So there were furnished from the thousands of Israel 1,000 from each tribe, 12,000 armed for war. Moses sent them 1,000 from each tribe. It said 1,000 from each tribe 3 times by now. Seriously, there's the Bible repeats stuff constantly. Anyway, to the war, and Phinehas, the son of Eleazar the priest, to war with them, and the holy vessels and trumpets for the alarm in his hand. So they made war against Midian, just as the Lord had commanded Moses, and they killed every male. They killed the kings of Midian along with the rest of their slain, Evi and Rechem and Zur and Hur and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. They also killed Balaam, the son of Beor, with the sword. The sons of Israel captured the women of Midian and their little ones, and all the cattle and all their flocks and all their goods they plundered. Then they burned all their cities where they lived and all their camps with fire. They took all the spoil and all the prey, both of man and beast. They brought the captives and the prey and the spoil to Moses and to Eleazar the priest, and to the congregation of the sons of Israel, to the camp at the plains of Moab, which are by the Jordan opposite Jericho. Moses and Eleazar the priest and all the leaders of the congregation went out to meet them outside the camp. Moses was angry with the officers of the army, and captains of thousands and captains of hundreds, who had come from service in the war. And Moses said to them, "Have you spared all the women? Behold, these caused the sons of Israel, through the counsel of Balaam, to trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor. So the plague was among the congregation of the Lord. Now therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman who has known a man intimately. But all the girls who have not known a man intimately, spare for yourselves."
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So a
what's
lot
your-
of times
what's your explanation?
God tells stories. Okay,
Yes.
to illustrate the destructiveness of sin. Okay, sin's a serious matter. Okay, like for example, God tries to direct us. Like for example, those women who were seducing other men and bringing them into a falsehood of lies. Was it in God's telling that story is saying, look, sin, disbelief, and living an immoral life leads to destruction.
Okay. You have any more to say?
No.
So, does it lead to destruction because it leads to destruction, or does it lead to destruction because God tells his chosen people to go and kill them son of bitches?
It's a story.
But
Okay.
here's the thing, like, this
So,
same
for
kind of
example-
thing is said by Muslims. You know, sin is so destructive, and if you convert a Muslim to another faith, we're gonna fucking kill you, cause like, you know, you're evil. Like, that's the same. But that's, cause see, this is what I always say. Like, Christians don't realize when they try to defend scriptural stuff like this, they're defending the same kinds of things that like Muslims say. That's the same reason I made that video.
The reason, no, you're misunderstanding me. The whole point of the story is not to go kill people who you
But that's
deem.
what it says.
No.
Yes, it does say that.
It doesn't say you have permission to kill other people because they're sinning. What it's saying to you is a life of lasciviousness and a life of rebellion against God leads to destruction.
Because God's people will come and fucking kill you.
No, it doesn't say that.
But it does say that. It does say, it literally portrays, like, the Israelites, going to slaughter all these people and keeping their virgins for themselves. Like, that's what it says. Like, why are you defending this? Why can't you just say, oh, it was a different time period, like a bunch of other moderate Christians say? Like, by the way, there are tons of verses like this in the Old Testament. Like, in the New Testament...
It was a violent world we lived in.
Yes, it was, but, like, God is supposed to be omnibenevolent, so why should he be equally violent?
God has his wrath, too. See, that's the misconception that people
But
have.
if he's supposed to be perfect,
People
why does he have
have-
so much wrath? Why is he so fucking angry? Just chill out.
Why is he angry?
Yeah.
Righteous? Do you ever hear righteous anger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be righteous to go and slaughter a
I
bunch
don't
of
know.
people
Would it
that
be
you don't like?
righteous if somebody came in here and slaughtered your whole family to maybe exact vengeance on them, and that would be righteous?
No.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, especially if they did.
That's where these moral questions
okay,
lie.
no,
Okay, then I guess you
it would
don't
not-
believe
it
in
would-
capital punishment.
It
then
would
either.
not. No, okay. Let's take this for an example. So let's say this. So let's say you like married Nicole. Dang it, I said someone's name. I don't think I was supposed to say it, but this person who might be named Nicole or might be named Martha for all we know. You married this person after you were no longer married to my mom, and she used to be of the Muslim faith. But after she married you, she converted to non-denominational Christianity, and then her family get super pissed off that you seduced her and like made her leave their holy faith and become corrupted. So they come to kill you and to kill everyone in your family. But they spared my virgin ass because they want to keep me as a sex slave. Would that be just?
You are drawing up a crazy scenario at this point.
No, but that's exactly what happened. That's exactly
Yeah,
point
but
for point.
you're assuming that, like, we're talking about the one true faith here.
Oh my gosh,
We're
but
talking
that's
about
what the
from the-
Muslims say. They said Islam is the only true faith, which means we need to even be prepared to kill other people who like resist us. Like, seriously, that's the exact same thing.
So is your point this, that religion is violent? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I mean, religion is a concept. It's not like religion can't go and knock down people's doors and kill them. People who follow religion can do that. And of course, like, there have obviously been a lot of great people throughout history, like, for example, Martin Luther King, who were
Correct.
inspired by religion. And, the New Testament is very different from the Old Testament in what it preaches. Like, Jesus says, no violence whatsoever. Even, like, if a person slaps you on the cheek, give them your other cheek. Don't fight back. So, yeah, Jesus is, like, totally nonviolent in anything he preached. But on top of the fact that, like, violence isn't the only thing that I object with, there's also, like, for example, Jesus says in the New Testament, one who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery in her heart, which is basically thought crime. Like, you're not allowed to have negative or sinful thoughts. Like, that's wrong, which is just horrible and something that makes a lot of people, including me when I was a Catholic, feel really guilty a lot of the time. But the other thing is, like, the Old Testament, there's so much
I think
blood-soaked violence.
What
So-
Jesus was talking about when he says with lust in your eye, he's meaning in, like, a demeaning, unhealthy fashion.
being attracted
There's
to
a
another
difference
person
between
is
lusting
lust.
and attraction.
No, people lust all the time. It's called sexual attraction. It's the same thing.
Another discussion for another day.
By the way, that's another thing in common with Islam. Like, in Islam, they say women have to be completely covered up head to toe so that men can't feel any lust towards them because that's sinful. Like, I keep trying to tell people, like, Islam and Christianity are not that different in a lot of ways.
Another discussion for another day.
Anyway, shall we continue on another topic? We've
Yes.
been on this for a while. Okay, so what do you think we have more to discuss?
I think we should discuss what happens to us after our short, brief moment of clarity on planet Earth. You believe, I guess, that you just decay into the ground and there's no more consciousness, and that's it. You get a short, brief moment in time
Yep,
to
basically.
experience consciousness.
Basically.
And the point of that being
Point of what?
the point of living a very brief moment in time and a brief moment of consciousness. And so what is all the knowledge that you acquired? Why should anybody even care?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that I'm an optimistic nihilist. I don't think there is any inherent point to our existence in the universe whatsoever. I think if the Earth blinked out of existence tomorrow, then the universe would not care, because we're so incredibly tiny. Like, in the grand scheme of things, we're not important, but we have importance to each other and importance to ourselves. Like, for me, meaning is not handed down to us by the creator of the universe. Meaning is that which we create for ourselves. Like, I like to consume a lot of knowledge by reading a lot of books, watching a lot of educational stuff and philosophy stuff. I like to do that because it interests me, it gives me my own purpose, and because I'm able to spread it to others to try to, like, educate them and have them become, like, more well-rounded individuals, just as I try to be. So, but that's not, like, an inherent purpose. That's not a purpose I was given. It's a purpose I decided for myself. And I think that's much more fulfilling than a God saying, your purpose in life is to, like, obey me and spread my message, and when you die, you'll be taken to this place where you can just worship me forever. Like, I don't find that particularly appealing.
Well, first of all, it's not saying you can't live on Earth and enjoy your temporal state.
But that would be a purpose which is, enjoying yourself. That's a purpose which is separate from God. So, isn't that
No, it's
bad?
not.
It's
not
is.
separate
It is.
from God, being joyful. Where does it say in the Bible?
The Bible says
You
that
can't have
Christians
joy.
will suffer for their faith.
Well, yeah, we do. Some at times. At
Yeah,
times
in
when we're mocked by atheists.
That's not suffering. Being mocked is not suffering. Like, you live in a Christian majority country where, like, the overwhelming majority of the
Well, there have been
politicians
times
and
in
the
history where
lawmakers
Christians have been certainly.
Yeah, of course, but that doesn't happen in a wide scale in the United States. You realize, like, atheists are the most, like, stigmatized religious minority in the United States. Like, less people would elect us for president than they would Muslims. You realize that, right?
I did not know that number was correct.
Also, in like 6 states, it's state law it's illegal for an atheist to run for elected office.
So you're comfortable with the fact that once you pass through this earth, you're okay with ending consciousness and Michael Tom? Oh,
Yeah, I'm good. I would prefer to live a relatively long life before that happens, but you know, if I die tomorrow, then that's what happens.
oh no, that would be terrible.
It would, but it.
It's terrifying to me.
Okay, well, I mean, I just sort of see it as
Mm.
this is reality, and I kind of have to accept it. And if there is
No, you
something,
don't.
if there is something more out there, then there's just not evidence for it. Like, from what we know about consciousness, it's derived from our brain. Like, when our brain stops working, that's it. We're done, man.
We're toast. We're like that piece of toast up there
I
in the
keep-
toaster.
Well,
Wouldn't you want
that's
to live
what I have
forever?
always
Wouldn't
said to
you
you
want to
over the
live
past
forever?
year.
And
No, I
continue-
would not. I might want to live like a few thousand more years if I were able to keep my young boy body, but no, I wouldn't want to like live forever because I
You
feel like
don't
that
want
would
this body right here? You don't want this?
Oh, come on. If you were really a man, you'd challenge me to a fight and mean it.
I will one day.
One day, yeah, because you keep much
But
like
look-
spanking, you
Now what-
always say you'll do it.
Now
but
what
you don't.
happens if Dad passes? You just think I'm just gone forever and you're not going to be reunited with me someday in heaven?
I do.
You do what?
I do think that is the case. I think that when you die, your consciousness will not exist anymore. Besides, what is the alternative? Like, the Bible says that unless you believe in Jesus Christ and follow his message, you're gonna burn in hell forever. Like, is that a good alternative?
That's why I'm trying to get to you.
But here's the thing, like, and I was
By the
gonna say
way,
this.
believing in Jesus Christ and believing in God is not something that you'll ever be able to prove. I'll never be able to prove it to you empirically, but it's called faith. It's called spiritual awakening,
But here's the thing,
and it's something that you'll never be able to describe until you've experienced it yourself.
But-
see,
here's the thing. I just want to like express something though. Like, I don't think faith as it's described by Christians and religious people is a legitimate avenue for like, you know, determining anything. I mean, like, not faith. You should focus on like skepticism, questioning, like looking at claims and what they really represent. Like, I really like this quote from Matt Dillahunty. He was like, you know, he's a member of the unholy
God's
Trinity.
ways are not our ways.
So here's the thing, though. The quote from Matt Dillahunty, as it goes, he says, "I don't know what it would take for me to be convinced that God is real, but God knows, and He hasn't done it. He has the ability to make Himself known to me right now, but He doesn't. He hasn't given any legitimate evidence of His existence whatsoever, and He's created the universe in such a way that it runs all on its own without the need of, you know, an omnipotent creator to actually like do anything. So as far as I'm concerned, like,
He
God's
set it in
existence
motion.
is, but
He set it
where's
in
the
motion.
evidence for that? Like, you're just saying that.
Oh, I would love for you to.
a bar
How
a
did
bar
the
of
universe?
Snickers
How
could-
did the universe come into existence?
Perhaps a bar of Snickers flicked it into existence. Like, you're using the God of the gaps fallacy, which is saying anything we don't know, which is like what was there before the Big Bang. Like, you're saying anything we don't know, God did it. Like,
Somebody did it, and
why? There are plenty of things that we once thought somebody did, but turned out to be a product of nature. Like, for example, lightning. People used to think that Zeus shot lightning bolts down from the sky, but that didn't happen. It was just a product of nature. People thought that like the stars were, I don't know. People thought a bunch of different things about the stars, but you know, people thought like that the stars were like representatives of these, and the planets were representatives of these like gods. But that didn't happen. They were just planetary bodies in nature that had no consciousness. So why is it necessary that we give a God as an explanation to everything we don't understand? Especially as our gaps in scientific knowledge inch like smaller and smaller. Like, nothing we have ever discovered is, you know, we've never discovered any scientific evidence of God by looking at the universe at all. So why is it that you think that as we discover more about the universe, we will somehow discover that God exists? You realize...
What do you think a world would look like with people like yourself in it who were humanists?
I think it looks like Norway. And Norway's
Really?
cool. I think the Czech Republic, or the Czech Republic, is like the most heavily atheist nation on Earth.
And how
It
do
has
they
a much
function?
lower crime rate than the United States, by the way.
Really?
Yes. Like, it's completely ridiculous that, like, you know, atheism, it leads to a lack of morality, it leads to violence, problems in society. Like, the most wealthy, generally, this is a generalization, but generally, the less religious people, or the lower percentage of religious people there are in society, the more prosperous that society
Do you
is.
think more focus should be on education as opposed to...
Well, I mean, when you really look at it, like, yes, of course we should focus on education, and I would say secular education, because when you're educating someone, you don't want to, like, you know...
Do you think it would lead to more understanding of our humanity and our human condition, and then people would be therefore more held accountable for their actions as opposed to writing it off as, well, I sinned today, God will forgive me?
Yeah, I do. I don't really like that, because I think, like...
You think it's a cop-out?
Yeah, well, some Christians and, like, other people like Jews say that, you know, without God, how can you have accountability? And people like me would say, well, with God, how can you ever have accountability? Because all you need to do is say, God, I'm sorry for what I did. Like, you know, I believe in you. I know that you will forgive me. Because, like, whenever you do something bad, you can always just say, you know, God, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and I believe in you, so I'm going to go to heaven. Like, you realize the atheists are, in addition to being a minority population in the United States, we are extremely underrepresented in the prison population. I think
Who are?
Atheists contribute about 4% to the population of the United States. They make up about 0.2% of the prison population. And you see this a lot. Like,
so what you're saying is
countries
there's no
in
direct
Africa,
correlation between
countries
the
in
lack
South
of
Amer-
faith and crime.
yeah, countries in Africa, countries in South America, they have extremely high crime rates, extremely high levels of religiosity. Like, it's just not true that, like, a lack of religiosity contributes to, like, violence and heathenism. So I just don't see any evidence that people say, like, oh, if we leave religion behind as a society, then, like, we'll lose our morality and we'll, like, crumble as a society. I don't see any evidence for that whatsoever. And I see, in a lot of ways, which is why I'm an anti-theist, the opposite happens, where when you have, like, religion being so important, you have, like, ridiculous aspects of society where, like, a super large portion of the United States, which, you know, we put so much of an emphasis on religion and, like, believing God, like, a huge portion of our society does not believe in man-made climate change and does not believe in evolution, which are provable scientific facts. And for a lot of, not everyone, but for a lot of people, that is religiously based.
Well, why does this constant debate throughout humanity go on about the existence of God and not? Where did it come from?
Well, I think it came from human beings trying to understand the natural world, and there were many things that human beings did not understand. You know, we didn't understand why there were clouds, why there was wind, why there were all these things. And so, because we are intentional creatures and create things like tools and houses and stuff like that, we think that that's how the world is, and all these things were actually created by, like, gods. And then religion
So
spread.
in other words, what's funny, I think, about you sometimes is you say there's no purpose for the universe, but then there's a need. Like humanity has a desire to know.
Yeah.
Those seem to be conflicting ideas.
It doesn't seem to be conflicting at all when you understand evolution through the process of natural selection.
Should we just suspend our ability or pursuit of God? Should we just say, you know what, it doesn't exist, end it? Or should we continue the pursuit?
Well, here's the thing.
Because you pursue knowledge like it's going out of style. So we're supposed to suspend belief.
There is a love of ignorance in our society.
You want us to suspend our belief in a God and just put it on a shelf forever and forget about it, close the door on it, and we can pursue other knowledge, but that knowledge is something that's a dead end.
Well, for one thing...
Is that what you're telling me?
Well, for one thing, the reason I study scripture so heavily, like I read the Bible, I read the Quran, I'm going to read the Hadith, the Book of Mormon, that stuff. The reason why I pursue those things is because they have such a big impact on society. If they didn't, and most people were just like, yeah, I don't really believe in religion, then I wouldn't bother, because I don't find them like that interesting. I don't find reading the Quran or reading the Bible, at least most of it. There are some interesting parts, but for the most part, the Bible's not an interesting book. I don't gain that much value from it, except for the fact that now I'm able to know more about what it actually says to counter and address religious people's claims in society. But so here's the thing: I identify as an anti-theist. I'm not an anti-deist. I don't care particularly whether or not a person believes in a God, and I accept the possibility that certainly it could be possible for a God to exist. But what I take issue with is religion specifically, because religion says that there is specific writings about a god, about what a god wants you to do, and religion has an effect on society. So I don't really care whether or not one way or the other that a person believes in a god. I care about what they think about what that God says. If you think...
So you take offense to the fact that some of the writings in Scripture say that you're going to burn in hell for all eternity.
Yes, I don't like how people use religion to, in many ways...
Do you feel like they weaponize it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do. And again, it can be used for good things, too. I'm not... religion can obviously have positive effects. I gave the example of Martin Luther King. He was a devoted Christian who was, one of the most famous civil rights leaders in history. But what people don't tell you is that there were a lot of humanist and atheist civil rights leaders. I did a report on one that I converted into video form. I don't know, what was her name? I think it was Lorraine Hansberry, who was a very famous, I guess not super famous, but civil rights figure who was an atheist and didn't believe in God. But that's my point. I feel like you are perfectly capable of... You just don't need religion. Sure, it can do some good things. It can obviously serve as a good vehicle for social movements. It can, give people hope. But, you don't need religion for that. All the things people say religion are necessary for, you can get through secular means. And there's also a ton of hang-ups that come with religion. One of my biggest issues, which is that the lack of ability to think critically. All throughout the Bible it says you just have to put your faith completely in God. Never question. Never take any other sources. Just believe on faith alone. And that's what I find so much issue with, because it's an utter lack of skepticism, and it's just anti-critical thinking. You're just saying believe because you need to. I take so much issue with that. I don't think it's a good outlook to have on anything.
Because you think
especially morality.
Do you think it's destructive in a way because things are swept under the carpet and they are basically, like a catch-all, oh well, we'll have a better afterlife, so I'm going to make this bad decision right now because it'll be better in the next life.
Yeah, I mean, some people say, who cares if we destroy our environment that we live on Earth? There's going to be an afterlife afterwards. I mean, do you realize basically that this whole phenomenon going on about Trump, how there are these people who just will not abandon him and will not acknowledge objective morality that he lost? That's so religious in nature. Basically, Trumpism has almost become a religion where people say, no, I'm not going to acknowledge morality. I'm just going to believe this because I want to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is.
Well, I think what we're going to have to do is wrap this up. But I do want to thank you for your time.
Well,
thank you for your insights. I think maybe at some point we should, because this is a very large subject, okay?
Yeah.
But I understand where you're coming from. I respect your thoughts. I hope you respect mine.
I do. I respect, every right for you to hold your beliefs. I don't necessarily agree with them.
Well, you've given me a lot to think about. I hope I've at least given you something to think about.
I mean,
even if it's what you're having for lunch today.
Wait. Hold on. What would that have to do with it?
I said, I hope I've given you something to think about, and then I said, even if it's just what you're going to have for lunch today.
But how would I gain what I was going to have for lunch today from this conversation?
It's a joke.
I don't know.
Thinking
did we
about
mention food?
No, I'm just saying if you're sitting there just kind of thinking, about what you're doing today.
Yeah. Anyway.
Sort of joke, Michael.
So.
I mean, the skeptic.
So, what would you say is you've gained from this conversation?
Well, I certainly respect the fact that, you've done your homework, that your intent is not to degrade somebody for their belief system. It's to, um, free us up of hang-ups and things that would be harmful to society based on reading some, writings that would indicate
Yeah.
violence or this or that. So I appreciate your motive behind it. I think that you should continue on the path of reading and studying.
Okay.
I think that you should also never close your mind to the idea of an infinite, God being out there.
My
in the
mind's quite
universe.
open. I just need some evidence.
Okay. And always be good to yourself and be good to others.
Okay.
What do you have to say to me?
Well, I want to say thank you for participating in this conversation / debate. Thank you for allowing me to record it. I really appreciated it. I would also like to ask one more time before we go. So, how do you think? Do you think I will ever be convinced that the beliefs I have right now about God, anyway, are incorrect?
Oh boy.
I mean, do you think I eventually will, like, as a bunch of people
Come
say,
around.
yeah, come around? Is it just a phase?
That remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people change. I think things happen in life that maybe you're not faced with right now. You have all the youth on your side. You have, a very long outlook as far as your life's concerned. I think people start to feel their invincibility as you get older. It causes you to think a little differently, and you start questioning, like, what's the point of all this? And religion has answered a lot of questions for a lot of people.
It's given incorrect answers, in my opinion. Faulty answers.
Okay.
But yes, you're correct. It does have answers.
If you were in a foxhole tomorrow and the enemy was coming and attacking and you knew your life was in peril, do you think you might believe in God then? Or cry out to God?
So,
If there be a God?
here's the thing about this.
If there be a God.
If there be a God. Here's the thing. Here's the problem with this atheist and foxholes argument. Because, like, it's such a common argument for people to say, like, oh, if you get in trouble one day, you'll turn your heart to God because, like, you'll need something to believe in if you ever get in trouble. Here's the problem with that argument, though. It's based on emotion. Like, it says nothing about the existence of God. It's just saying that when some people are desperate, when they're extremely emotionally compromised and fearing for their life, then in a moment of desperation, they will call out to God to try and save themselves. But, like, even if that happens, even if someday, like, I go to war because the United States goes to war with China or something, and, like, I get caught in a foxhole where I'm, like, scared I'm about to die, in that moment where I'm, like, so desperate and so fearing for my life, I, like, call out to God and say, God, please save me. First of all, that doesn't mean that I would even believe in God. Like, I could maybe try a bunch of other things, like, I don't think would necessarily be true. I might pray to the Zeus. I might pray to, like, Allah. I might pray to a bunch of different gods. Even though I don't really believe in them, I think that maybe there might be a chance I try it to save my life. The other thing is, even if that moment would make me believe in God, that wouldn't be any evidence of God's existence. It would just be evidence of the very real phenomenon that people who are desperate will turn to God. That's why people who live in, like, such horrible conditions, like, that's why places like Africa, which are just, like, a lot of countries there are just, there are tons of people living in extremely horrible conditions. That's why they are so incredibly religious, because that's all they have to turn to when, like, reality isn't looking good for them. And the other factor is, the third thing I'll say is, there is a website called Atheists in Foxholes where atheists give their experiences of being war veterans, and they didn't turn to God. So that doesn't always happen.
Okay. The next, I would like to explore a subject of how do you base your decisions in life as it relates to being an atheist and not being an atheist.
Could you elaborate on that?
Meaning, there's a lot of things that I would like to do right now with my life that I feel an obligation not to do because of my commitments and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's certainly an easier way out for me if I wanted to, okay, in terms of decisions that I make. So do we make
Okay.
our decisions based on our own self-interest, or do we do it based on what God would want and would be best for others? Meaning, do we just live this life and strictly what's in it for me? What's my best path? What's my easiest out? How am I going to make more money? How will I be happier? Or is there more beyond that?
I think that it would be immoral to live your life completely based upon what's in it for me and what can I get out of it. But again, that's according to my philosophy, which is humanism, which says that we should, in addition to taking care for ourselves, we should try to contribute to the prosperity of all humankind. But again, that's my philosophy, and it obviously wouldn't apply to everyone. There are like some people who are just complete hedonists out there who say, "No, I'm completely selfish. I only live life for myself and for no one else."
Eat, drink,
And
and be merry.
yeah, and I would obviously disagree with that. But in the end, like, humanism is not the objective truth of life. It's just the truth that I have found to be logical and useful for the survival of our species. I also recognize that the reason why we have all these things like, we have technology, we have, like, the ability to record our voices and upload them to the entire world. The reason why we have all this stuff and, like, access to a bunch of great food and like clean drinking water and indoor plumbing. The reason why we have all that stuff is from humanity working together in a very complex and intricate system that would not be possible if everyone just went their own way.
Okay.
With like the things we have the ability to do, we only have the ability to do them because we live in a society.
So the
You know,
concept.
as the Joker would say, we live in a society.
So
And I think it's our duty to kind of try to improve upon that society and contribute to it.
So you do believe the concept of duty,
Yeah,
honor,
I do.
self-sacrifice.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna go into work just saying, nah, I'm not gonna wear a mask, like, screw that, I don't like it, it's uncomfortable. No, I'm going to, like, try to...
Whereas I could have been like, I don't feel like raising this kid anymore. He's 5 years old. I'm tired of it. I want to go to Fleet, Florida and play surfing, and I want to go play football on the beach.
Yeah, I do think that when you live in a society, you have a moral responsibility, but that doesn't really have anything to do with God. So,
What's moral to you may not be moral to me.
that is true. Moral relativism is an objective fact of reality that can be observed.
Let's run that by me one more time.
Well, I'm saying that, yeah, you're right. People don't always have the same moral system. With that said, humans are relatively similar to each other, so we all generally have the same kinds of wants. We want to have pleasure, we want to avoid pain, we want to...
Have you
be
ever
able
heard of the hierarchy of needs?
Yeah, I have.
Maslow's?
Mm-hmm.
The first is to have food and shelter.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way up to self-actualization.
Yeah, self-actualization, that's what I'm working on right now.
We
Yeah,
all,
I mean...
we all are.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, we're all humans. It's not like people... It's not like they're actually different races where, like, these people, they deserve to be in slavery because they're just different from us. No, we're all humans. We all have basically the same needs and wants, so we can...
That's why you call it humanism.
Well, yeah, we can... Even though we might disagree on a lot of things and have very different moralities, we all generally want to be, like, happy and, like, live in a society where our needs are provided for us. So,
Do we want to be loved?
yes, we do. Most of us.
Some don't.
I mean, psychopaths, I guess, can't experience love, but I don't know. That's a very small portion of the population. But anyway,
Well,
so,
this has been very interesting.
thank you.
I think we covered a lot of subject matter.
It's time for
I think
your
one time,
online church, I believe.
yes, next time we may take a smaller subject matter regarding all of this and go deep into it.
Oh, you want to do more of these?
Yeah.
Okay, you want me to record them, or do you just want to have a discussion?
We'll discuss that later off mic.
Okay, then.
All
Well,
right,
this has been the Skeptical Skeptic coming at you with another video, Sunday special. Anyway, I thank everyone for watching this, who is watching it. I want to thank my father, the Skeptical Dads, for coming on to debate/discuss religion with me. Say... I'm
Thank
the
you,
greatest son ever.
everybody.
Say I'm the
And,
greatest son ever.
Yes, the skeptical stuff is the greatest son ever. But I play no favorites. I love all three of my children, and he doesn't understand the concept of equality when you love your children. But one day, if he has his own, he'll understand.
Sure.
Yeah.
If I'm ever having a kid, I'm only having one.
Procreate. One. Oh, you might have one then. Now that you've made progress. Before you said 0.
Anyway, I think we will stop talking about this or continue talking it off camera. Anyway, this is the end. Goodbye.